Now, when we write intervals, the first thing that you should do is try to get comfortable just writing the basic interval. The basic interval is without regard to any accidentals or any particular quality. For example, can you write the interval of a third? The interval of a third goes from a line, skips over the space, and goes to another line. So we count the first note, we put our pencil on the first note and say 1, 2 is the space, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that's a third. It always goes from a line to a line. It could also go from a space to a space. In other words, again, we put our pencil on the first note and say 1. We can say it out loud. 1. Go to the line. 2, 3. This is the interval of a third as well. So you can see that I could write several thirds. Always would go from a space to a space or a line to a line. And you could see if I went, for example, from this space to that line, that would not be a third. That would be bigger. So we could count it and figure out what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be a fourth. So we could also practice that. I'm going to do that in the bass clef. I'm going to start with a space, put my pencil on it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and practice writing some fourths. Here's a line, 1, 2, 3, 4, and one more. I'll start with this space here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see that fourths have a certain look that are quite different than thirds. Let's try this interval. This is a second. Now when you write a second, you're going to go from a space to the very next note, which would be the line. And again, you can always figure out the basic number of an interval by putting your pencil on the first note and saying 1. 1, and then moving up and saying 2. So that's a second. You could try this by starting on a line, saying 1, 2. So that's a second. Seconds are always right next to each other, and in music that means space to a line or line to a space. Here are some seconds. Here's another one. Let's try some bigger intervals. What about the interval of a sixth? I could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could do this with any number and figure out what the basic interval is. This would be a sixth. And sixths are always going to look about the same, whether I start on a space or a line. I can put my pencil on the first note. This is kind of important just to make sure you do that. Put your pencil actually on the note and say 1, and then count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's the other interval of a sixth. Let's try the interval of a fifth. A fifth would go from a space, and we'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be a fifth. Notice with fifths, if it's a space, it will again be a space if it's a fifth higher, but there would be a space in between. Same thing if you go from a line and count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It starts on a line, would end up on a line with a line in the middle. Most people get pretty good at being able to recognize fifths. They kind of are rather recognizable. Space, skip a space, and then a space, or line, skip a line, and then a line, or space, skip a space, and then a space. Those are fifths. The seventh, again, we're doing these all the same way. I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's a seventh. Or start on that space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is what it looks like from a line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And finally, the last one we'll look at is the octave. And an octave just means 8. So I could start, for example, on this space and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or I'll try starting on this line, on the G, and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And those are both octaves. When you do intervals, you can either do them harmonically or melodically. A melodic interval is when you place one note after another. And this, of course, is a third. And this is called a melodic interval. Or they can be harmonic. Harmonic is when they are together. This is a third, but I put them right over each other. A melodic interval implies that you're playing one after the other, and a harmonic interval implies that you are playing them at the same time. So this is a harmonic interval. This is what a fifth would look like as a melodic interval. And this is what a fifth would look like as a harmonic interval. Just right above. They are right on top of each other. This can be a little tricky if you look at seconds. Seconds obviously are just one note after another, so from the space to the line. And that's a melodic interval. But look at the problem when we try to write this as a harmonic interval. The F and the G. Do you see how it just looks like a big splotch? Because those notes are too close together. So when we write the second as a harmonic interval, we don't try to do that. We take the note, for example, in this case, the F, and the G we put immediately to the right so that the notes are just about touching each other. So the impression is that you'd be playing those at the same time. Harmonic interval. And so that's what the harmonic seconds will look like, sort of on a diagonal in a way.